it's the proudest day and the proudest time in the seat of a rally car, because that day and that hour and those minutes, I got the bit between my teeth. You know, I really stood up and was counted and said, this is not getting away. I remember when we pulled on our helmets and Donald says to me, what are we doing? I said, we're going for gold, Barrett. That's all we said. I can still picture that run. That was just the best run ever.
Welcome along to Krunching Gears, the Rally Podcast, episode 41. Once again, joined by Connor Edwards. Connor, you're welcome as always.
Kevin, thank you. And again, like always, delighted to be here. It's a good time of the week to chat rallying, especially when there's not as much of it around at the moment.
Well, you know, where maybe there's not as much action on the stages as at other times, but we've an awful lot to talk about this weekend, or this week, sorry. I caught up with, you caught up with Eamon Kelly, hot from winning the Billy Coleman Award earlier today. Fantastic news. Then we also catch up with Niall Burns, who was the one and co-driver from the Historics at the weekend. Unfortunately, Johnny Greer couldn't be with us. Johnny's not just feeling the best, so get well soon, Johnny. Also, Kevin Eves and Chris Melly won the modified section, and only delighted for them two guys. Their first outright one as well too, which is something special as well. And then finally catch up with Shane McGurr and the lad the Grisdale stages last weekend. I think everybody I think now at this stage knows how much I love my ladders, but I think it's been contagious because the amount of people online that's been raving about the ladder at the weekend is phenomenal. But anyway, more of that later. Please, can you like, share, comment, rate? All those things makes a huge difference to the performance of the podcast. So keep doing what you're doing. And just once again, thank you all very much. But Connor, I suppose we could start with the Billy Coleman Award this afternoon. What can we say? Eamon Kelly, deserved winner?
Yeah, undoubtedly, yeah. Just talented guy, has a package, has a plan for what he's doing next year. Some great results this year, but to be honest, it was tough competition. But yes, definitely a deserved winner.
Yeah, Eamon is such, for such a young lad, he's such a likable, there's something very genuine about him, and he has the talent behind the wheel. And there's, and then, Patrick O'Brien, Kyle McBride, any other year, they'd probably have walked away with it. It's just, it's fantastic to have such a depth of talent in this country at the moment.
It is, Kevin. There really is some serious young talent out there, and not only that, also in the long list, I suppose you just mentioned the short list, with Patrick, Kyle, and Eamon, but there was Jack Brennan, there was Joe Brown, Ryan Caldwell, Dylan Eves. Again, quite an array of talent there. Some really, really quick guys out in stages have put in some phenomenal results this year. And really did deserve to be in that list, and it was a tough competition. And it's unfortunate they all know each other and they're all competing against each other, not only in the stages but also for the recognition of the Billy Coleman Award.
Absolutely. And we've seen what it can do to others' career. We think of Callum Devine, we think of Wal Crichton. We have to remember Wal didn't win it. Josh McErlean. And it's just taking them to another level. So. Yes, I'm sure Patrick and Kyle are a bit, downbeat this afternoon, but this is only the beginning.
Well, it is, because they may not have won the overall award, but they are part of the MI Academy. And there's a lot of support there in the academy, for these guys. So this isn't the end of their journey. It's, pretty much the beginning or a continuation for some of them with the academy. So there's a lot of support. There's a lot of work there, with drivers, with the co-drivers, and everything around from, pace note training to working out, their own media and PR skills and everything. So
and then
there's a lot of support.
Everything, it's all there, isn't it? It really is.
Yeah.
We're banging the drum for MI Academy week in, week out, and it's a huge thing, probably people are sick of us listening to it now, but we can't, underestimate what this has done. We think of even James Fulton, Brian Hoy, we have two world champions. They weren't maybe in the academy, but they benefited from the the academy being there,
Yeah,
and then
that
it's
support
just
network. Yeah,
exactly, like, and flying the flag for this country, north, south, east, west, it doesn't matter, it's just a phenomenal resource. It really is, So,
yeah.
I think without further ado, I think we'll catch up with him and get his thoughts on it.
Great. Eamon, congratulations, Billy Coleman Award winner. What's it feel like?
Yeah, thanks very much. It hasn't really sunk in yet. It's mad. I really didn't expect to hear my name called out, and certainly a surreal feeling going up there and getting the trophy handed to you by Billy Coleman. Yeah, just amazing. It's been a dream since a kid, obviously involved in loving motorsport growing up in Ireland, and this is the pinnacle of rallying, and yeah, just so over the moon.
And some big shoes to fill from previous winners. What's the plans? What's your thoughts now that you have the trophy and obviously the prize fund?
Yeah, obviously, some of the names in the trophy have gone on to do amazing things, and it's amazing to be part of that list, and it only motivates you to go on and try and replicate and push further. Again, I suppose in terms of what people have done in the past, and having the award and the fund as well, which is huge. It's going to allow us to go on and do bigger things, and again, like I said, try and represent Motorsport Ireland to the best I possibly can.
And look, early days yet, but do you have a plan for next year? What are you thinking of doing, championship wise or competition wise?
Yeah, so the plan was always to go back to the BRC in the Rally 2 category in the top flight. We feel it's a great place to build our speed and top level cars. There's still a really good pace over there, and dual surface and some big events. So for me, it's a great place to really push myself and build my speed. But on top of that, obviously we've won the prize right from the Junior BRC last year, which we aim to do Croatia in April. And now with the prize fund of the Billy Coleman, we aim to expand that programme and push on into another couple of WRC2 rallies, and that will allow us to gain World Rally Championship experience, but also use the BRC as a platform to build my speed, and it kind of takes the pressure off trying to prove my speed in the WRC from round to round. I can do that in the BRC and go and tackle the World Championship with not less pressure, but less pressure to push my own speed. It's about learning the rallies and see how it goes.
And I mean, any advice? Obviously yourself, you've watched and seen the previous award winners and people apply for this competition. Any advice for the juniors coming behind you who would be interested in standing where you're standing?
I'd say just, no matter how many bad days in a rally car that you might have, always be resilient and keep pushing. Like, I think I've had years where I didn't have any good results at all, but we were always doing the right things and always believing in ourselves and trying to keep pushing and see where we're going wrong, and it eventually does come good, and if you keep pushing you'll get there. So that's been my approach so far, so it's definitely the best advice I could give.
And look, it's always a challenge getting sponsors on board. Will this help you with that? What's it been like trying to drum up support?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had some very loyal sponsors over the years, and I have to thank all of them: Northgate, Leishan, HSS Hire, Trailer Stuff, and Donnelly Group, GMG. They've been really good. Having this award, obviously, it boosts their profile as much as mine, and in terms of reaching out now, you're at that part of the year where you're trying to bring more people on board, and hopefully we will have another few on board too. We're in the workings of that, but having this backing and being able to present a programme to sponsors to say you're going further afield into the World Championship, it's huge, and this is going to boost that massively.
Yeah, to be honest, Kevin, now talking to Eamon, he was a little bit speechless. He it was taking a little while for it to sink in, what he's achieved, and the fact that he not only won the Billy Coleman Award, but to be presented with it by Billy Coleman as well. Did leave him a little bit speechless. And interesting. Eamon talked about his plans for next year. One of those is Rally Croatia round of the WRC, and that is using the prize that he won from the Junior BRC British Rally Championship prize. So he'll have an R2 outing on Croatia. So it'll be fantastic to see how he goes on the asphalt in Croatia.
Excellent, that would be cool then. And there's been a lot of breaking news in the WRC this weekend, or today as well.
Today, yeah.
Today, Wednesday, I suppose. Yeah, so it's been another one of those pieces is starting to slot into the jigsaw. Almost complete now. Tannic back to M Sport.
I know. Well, listen, it's his spiritual home.
Yeah.
Now, in fairness, I'll have to say I was skeptical if it would happen, because obviously we know that M Sport financially have been on a shoestring, and obviously Ford and their other sponsors have come on board to make this happen. So delighted to see it. I think it really opens up next year's WRC again. I can't wait to see the battle between Neville I think there's scores to be settled there. But yeah, like I remember in 2019 in Spain when Tanak driving for Toyota had clinched the World Championship there, and the guys from M Sport came out of their service area to applaud him as he drove past to go to the Toyota garage. So there's a fondness and an affection there between Tanak and M Sport and Malcolm and Out, you know, and it seems to be mutual. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this is it. He feels happier and more settled, and you know, the Puma lives up to what I suppose what we've been told it can do.
Yeah, the worry would be, you know, as the year progresses, you know, they started strong in Monte Carlo this year, and it kind of all went downhill, and like lack of development, you know, is the budget going to be there to keep developing the car to the level that Tanak will demand? I suppose really, you know, that's going to be the burning question. You know, like Red Bull, Ford, all the backers is going to have to up there and there. There's going to be maybe another sponsor maybe coming on board or something. We don't know the whole ins and outs of the deal, but hopefully it could be the start of something. But this time last year, we were saying Craig Breen was going to his spiritual home, you know. So it's, yeah, you know, we'll have to wait and see. Like, we all want to see M Sport doing well. Definitely, there's no doubt about that. But we're just a wee bit weary, maybe.
Yes, but they did it before when OJ came on board. Like that team turned itself on its head to become an extreme, like what was a professional, you know, privateer team became an extremely professional team with OJ and Ingracia there, and you know, all of them working together to win that championship. So look, it can be done. Yeah. I can't see Malcolm going down this route if he didn't think he could make it happen.
True. Yeah, like, you know, it would be a huge step for him to, you know, and for Tanak to step into the unknown. Like, there must be budgets in place then, you know, like that, which is fantastic news. And Hyundai at long last have a new team principal.
Yes, they do indeed. What do you call it? We for anybody who watched Drive to Survive on Netflix, they would recognize or will recognize Cyril, and I'm gonna make a hames of pronouncing a bit will. That's the best I'm gonna go at.
Cyril will do it for us, yeah.
Cyril, exactly. So Cyril was the Renault F1 team manager. And there, you know, I can't remember which series of Drive to Survive, but there's a whole thing of Ricardo being signed and then leaving and all the issues with between him and Cyril and stuff. But yeah, it looks like he's coming on board with Hyundai, and that's going to be confirmed what do you call it, this week. So again, a little bit of change. Hopefully that settles that team now that they have confirmed. It's unclear yet what's happening with Julian. He you know, did a outstanding job with what he was handed last year. So hopefully he remains with the team. I know they have lost a team manager this week as well. Is it Pablo Marcus has stepped back, but now hopefully that means things settle down now at Hyundai. Fingers crossed.
You know, like a strong pair of hands is needed there. You know, and I think somebody coming from a Formula One background won't be scared to make the decision that's needed. You know, and like, I think Hyundai need that. The WRC need that as well, as much as anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you call it? You know, let's all focus on the competition on the stages, and I think that's where it needs to go back to. I think there was too much, you know, going on behind the scenes that we were all made aware of that we probably shouldn't have been.
Yeah, that's for sure. That is for sure. And then a little closer to home, last weekend we had the Killarney Historics, and like this event keeps growing year on year. Like historic rally at the moment in Ireland has ratcheted up. Especially it seems to be even more so since we come back from COVID. But the historics this year, like what a lineup! You know, Craig Breen there and Frank Maher's Sierra, Johnny Greer and the Sapphire 4x4 Sierra, and then you know and it's not even a few years ago it was a string of escorts. Now it's the the variety of cars as well too. We've obviously still got BDA, BDG, BD, whatever you want to call them. But we've got M3s. We've got the Sierras. Great to see the variety as much as anything else, Connor.
You're right. It's that diversity. We're not all just going to see the escorts anymore. And not only the diversity, the quality of the diversity as well. And okay, few mechanical issues and unfortunately that included Craig, but generally on a whole, like the cars are really well built, really well maintained. Like, the results being put in this the stage times, like the guys weren't holding back.
Definitely not. It's become like it is. It's become like I'll speak to Kevin Eves and Chris Milley later on. Kevin says it's the one you want in the mantelpiece. It's up there now with the Donegal or whatever. Is like that's the esteem that's held within the driving community as well too. And like classic stages, Malls Gap, Ballabima, and all like and all encapsulated in one day. 3 runs up the gap. That's brilliant in alone.
Well, look, it's great that the motor club and the local community facilitated that. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what the drivers are going for. They're going for those classics. It's like if you went to Donegal and you were told you were going to get 6 runs over Knockalla or Atlantic Drive, everybody would be up for it, because it is those classic stages you want to be tested on. So it was fantastic that the club could pull that together. I'm hoping the momentum's going to keep building. Wouldn't it be fantastic if we had our own, equivalent of Donegal, but from an historic point of view that it built, it became a festival almost like what you find in Europe.
Yeah, and like you look at a Friday night in Killarney, the switching on of the lights, the rallies that brought into that festival. This is the things that rallying should be embraced, and that this is bringing rallying to the community. Brilliant to see. Like you have to take your hats off to the motor club down there. Like at the rally run on time, like the social media side of things. Like I jokingly put up on Twitter, they almost had the news before it happened. Like it was instant. Like Sean Moriarty down there. Like you talk about having your finger on the pulse. Like the guy was on fire at the weekend. Like I don't know how he managed to cover everything, but great to see.
It was great, and you could stay up to date with it. Unfortunately, I didn't make it down. Would love to have gone, but you could stay up to date. It was easy to follow. But even the popularity, when you did see the clips, what do you call it, on Instagram or wherever, the crowds, this amount of spectators. But even like, what did we see on Thursday night? The camper vans were in place already. Like just crazy.
Yeah, and like the guys are talking about, even when they're out doing the recce on Friday, the amount of people out standing watching them doing the recce, like that's kind of European stuff. It's not not normal here. Brilliant to see. But without further ado, I think we'll catch up with Niall Burns. As I say, unfortunately, Johnny couldn't make it, but Niall and Johnny had a titanic battle with Craig and Paul, and unfortunately, drive shaft issues going into the last stage, sideline Craig, but you have to take your hats off to Johnny Greer and Niall Burns. Great run. So, first question I asked Niall was, how good was it to win Killarney Historics?
Yeah, it was fantastic. It still really hasn't sunk in now. Obviously, it was. I'm sure you're all watching. It was a tight battle all day, and I can't remember the last time there was an Irish rally where we actually tied for the lead twice in the one day, and it was a big push. And look, just we were so lucky, like fantastic conditions and such a well-run event by Killarney District Motor Club. Like just ideal day, really. Like.
Yeah, and like yourself and Johnny have got together now. That the sort of last few months at the end of 2022 and built up really strong partnership. That obviously takes work. That's not something that just comes. There's a natural flow, but there's also work goes into it as well.
Yeah, I suppose it was lucky. Like me and Johnny started working together from the Rally of the Lakes, really, and I think this was our fourth rally now. But obviously, me and Johnny we've known each other for a number of years. Like obviously, going over from DRC events back in 2010, you chat a bit here and there and stuff. And I think it got to the stage, like I was probably well on, like in my kind of career too. I had plenty of experience too, and that's the type of experience Johnny looked for. And we're both kind of the same objectives. Like we both just want to win, and we put in so much effort. Like, and the two of us work well together. And obviously, the proof was in the pudding there at the weekend.
Yeah, and like what a few months you've had, second on the Ulster, won one of the rounds of the Northern Ireland Championship. Like all that hard work, it's great to see it being rewarded as well.
Oh no, it definitely is. Like I think the Ulster is probably one of the standout ones for me now, to be honest, because they're such challenging stages, and we were on the pace fairly on. Now we were unfortunate with a puncture that dropped us back, but when you're going into the likes of Big Gullion and stuff like that, like in the dark, it just goes to show narrow stage like that how much trust Johnny got in me very quickly that we could be on the pace racing Desi earlier on that event as well. And no, it's been, as you say, like, it's just been lucky enough so far, and it's been fantastic, and hope we might be able to continue that into next year.
Excellent, excellent. And Killarney Historics is becoming one of those go-to events in the Irish calendar. We think of Donegal, West Cork, Killarney Historics. It's up there with the best of them. To go there in a top-line car like the Sierra, that must be an awesome feeling.
It's dream stuff for me. Look, I've grown up with Irish rallying, and it's you want to be winning them rallies, you want to be in the top spins in these rallies, and like that was just like when we knew this was going to happen, it was fantastic, and to get another crack going up Malls Gap, like it's such an iconic stage, it's such a pleasure to call notes on. But like as you say, like I just couldn't get over the crowds even at the rally, like from the start with ramp on Saturday evening. But even something we noticed too when we were making the pace notes on Friday, like in May, you would have had lads in the camper vans, but even now the boys are sitting out in the deck chairs and their woolly hats and all chatting around. Just the atmosphere down there was such a relaxed rally and such an enjoyable rally. And it's definitely one everyone's talking about now. And you can see the entries growing more and more as well. And it's fantastic to see.
Yeah. And like the way Ireland has took on the historic, like the Killarney Historics have been running now a good few years. But this last couple of years, it really seems to have kicked up a gear. There seems to be a real buzz about historic rallying at the moment.
There's loads to be when you see even lads like Cathal McCourt there and even Michael Card and all them lads getting BDA cars to go down for half the crack. And I think for a lot of lads too, there's if you're stuck in a championship all year as well, there's a lot of pressure on, and sometimes you just want to go out and slide around, have a bit of fun, bring the lads down, no pressure, just go for it. And that's what it seems to be for Killarney now, like obviously that was what Johnny's approach always been to it. Look, we'll not put too much pressure on the lads. Let's go down. We stayed around for a few beers after as well. It's just kind of an end of year get together as well. But it's just that's what you need every now and again in events too, and that's what Clarence sees was the plan for a lot of boys, and that's what it worked out at.
Yeah, and like that Sierra, like another iconic car, and then going up against Craig Breen, WR himself and Paul Nagel, WRC stars representing Ireland on the world stage in an iconic car, like that is boyhood dream stuff. I'm sure. Like like they were probably Meyer a car. You're probably a bit younger than me. Maybe you maybe kind of missed the Sierras,
I kind of missed the Sierras ever so slightly. I was kind of coming in when the Slakas and the Group A Cosworths and stuff were on their game. But no, obviously seeing the videos of Sierras from back in the day too, they were one of them cars you never think you're going to get to sit in, let alone compete against the WRC car once head to head, So it was very surreal all weekend.
Yeah, and like Paul Nagel, like he's been there, done that, got the T-shirt, and like for yourself to be pitting your wits against him too, that must be pretty cool.
Yeah, like obviously, look, I've been a admirer of Paul's for years, and I know Paul quite well too, but like just to be there, and as I was saying to like even Johnny, like I could learn so much by even following Paul when first on the road. There's certain things he was doing and certain questions he was asking, the way he does certain things, and I was just like a sponge there, taking all that in and trying to learn from him as well. So I actually learned a lot too by doing that the weekend. And when you come to the end of Malls Gap and their first stage, you said, "Oh, you're only 0.7 off Craig in there too." It's like, oh. Okay, right, let's go. Now we're there.
And like, does the mindset change then? Does it right? Let's go. This is here for the taking. Let's go for it.
I would have probably said if this was a few years ago, it probably would have. But the fact me and Johnny have been around, and obviously we've been in some similar situations before with rally wins and stuff like that, you kind of forget about who you're rallying against. You have your game plan, and you just try and keep things as calm as you can. And the thing is, we can only do the best that we can do. You drive your own rally. Johnny could push as hard as he could push there. He knew what he had to do, and you can't do any more than that. When you start on the other side of that, that's when you're actually going to start losing time. You're overdriving. So no, we just kept a steady plan all day, and it just seemed to work out for us.
Yeah. And like going into that last stage, we were set for this epic showdown, and unfortunately, Craig pulled in before the start. Does does the atmosphere in your car change? Like you can't afford to spin, obviously, because what you call him, Alan Ring's coming close behind you. But is the pressure off to a certain extent?
Well, when we seen Craig and he kind of explained what happened, the first thing Johnny says, "Oh, geez, I'm awful sorry, Craig. Boy, what's the gap to ring?" So
Yeah.
But and then I think we landed down because obviously if the stage, the rival controls quite a bit back from the start control. And we just seen everyone's faces drop, and we landed first down to the start line. They were just in awe, and people are coming up trying to ask us questions. They're like, look, we have to focus here. Like, we
Aye,
can't
we're
speak.
at
We have
stage
to do here. But I think at that stage we knew, look, we were 20 seconds up, and we had no real moments on the stage area. We just had to do what we've been doing on the stage all day, and you're obviously listening for that rattler, there's a smell coming in. Oh God, what's this? But no, thankfully it all played up, and it was all good.
And as you talked about, Moll's Gap is one of those great iconic stages. The three stages were as good a stage as you'll get anywhere in the country.
I think Ballochbeam is actually one of Johnny's favourite stages in Ireland, actually, and we always seem to go well in it. Like, we went very well in it in May in the international as well, and I think we may have bet Craig on it both passes there. But the Kilgalvan stage is fantastic. The version of Shannon. Obviously, we've done bits of it at Shannon earlier in the year, and we've done that stage in reverse. But the way it ran this year was just fantastic. But again, I have to give massive credit to Killarney District Motor Club, because every stage ran on time. Marshals, like you could say, spectators were so well in decent places. Everything was so well organised, and they really deserve all the credit in the world for making that event happen the weekend and how well it ran.
Yeah. And that, I echo your sentiments there. Like everything, I've only heard good words on, the whole rally, the way it was run, the whole atmosphere, everything just seemed fantastic. And then, like, from your own point of view, like, you had a fabulous 2021, and everybody else was having a quiet year. Yourself and Gary Pearson were winning titles left, right, and centre. So congratulations on that. But this year you were getting married and one thing and another, so you decided to scale back a wee bit in the rallying, and like, you still had a phenomenal year, really.
Yeah, like I think there was just time, the rally. It's just been on the brain. The last 17 years, it's just been rally, 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 and I think I'd done like 17 weekends in a row last year, and I think there was a year there I might have done 32 events, and I was just thought, you know what, I would have been putting myself under too much pressure this year, like with the wedding conference. You know what, now it's just the time. Look, there's other stuff going on in life as I'm getting older now, so just you have to prioritize certain things. But I still ended up doing 12 events this year, so still quite a bit of rallying going on. But you do miss it, I have to say. Like, there's calls coming, and you're like, jeez, I'd love to go, and this man would ring, I could try and make that work. And I just thought, no, I'll just sit back. I had a plan this year, but next year I'll probably just be back to normal. Whoever rings will be away,
But you have been so lucky over the years. Like, rallying has allowed you to travel the world. You've been to America. You've been across Europe. All corners of Ireland and the UK. Like it, and from that point of view, it is a fantastic sport that it gives you those opportunities.
There was a couple of surreal moments, and I remember doing the Olympus rally, and like I would have grown up watching Andrew Nesbitt and James O'Brien, and then me and James were getting the same taxi to the rally from the airport, and you just think back on this, I'd never thought would happen. Like, I never thought I'd even meet James. Now competing against him in the rally in America. And I think even there, me and Gary McElhenney, like, we were doing the Mont Blanc rally a couple of years ago too, and we were way up in the Swiss Alps on a Friday night, and we're just standing there, and this is just unreal, like. We're getting to see so much of the world and stuff like that, and we're just so fortunate, like, but it's a strange sport that way, like, I never thought when I did my first event a couple of years ago that I would have been so fortunate to travel. But I guess it's any co-driver as well, if you just keep your head down, keep trying your best to navigate, keep progressing and keep asking questions and going, you never know what might happen for you. And as I say, if you do get opportunities your way, take them, because you never know what might come of it,
Yeah, and like, to lead on from that, you're now trying to give back to the sport. Yourself and Rory Kennedy had a navigational or a co-drivers class in Sligo there November, and you're hoping to run another one now, hopefully in Donegal again, maybe early in the new year. You're talking about.
Yeah, Connacht Motor Club. They were just trying to keep. Obviously, did no event this year in the club, and they're trying to keep the club active. So they asked me would I do something like that, and I just said, look, me and Rory be quite good friends, and I said to Rory, look, would you mind coming along with me? And it seemed to go off very well, and I got a lot of messages after, well, guys, would you be interested in doing one up closer to home? So hopefully now we had planned to do one in December, but just with the venues and stuff like that, it hasn't worked out. So we're hoping to maybe early January get something together with the help of Bernard and Charles Gallagher too, which have been kind of influential in getting the thing up and running up here. So, but if anyone is interested, if they drop me a message, and I'll be fairly active on Facebook, that when it is coming up, we'll have dates up in plenty of time, and everyone's more than welcome to attend.
Excellent. Well, Niall, I think that's a fantastic cause, yourself and Rory. Like, it's like everything. If you can get somebody that has the experience, it makes it so much easier to help other people climb the ladder, and that's highly commendable.
But I think another thing as well is like even on the night there, like Rory started talking about stuff how he does things, and I was there. I was actually taking notes on the slide myself, listening to Rory because I think we were chatting about you never stop learning as co-drivers. You know, there's always someone you can learn from. As I said earlier, I picked up a lot from Paul there at the weekend, and I'm going to try and use myself next year. That night in Sligo, I actually learned a lot from Rory, and there was a guy in the audience there that was, and I actually picked up something from him as well. You never stop learning as co-drivers. Every day is a school day, and we're just like sponges taking in all that knowledge, putting it to the best use we can. We're competing ourselves, you know.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Niall, thank you very much for taking the time. It's been a pleasure chatting to you, and keep learning.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. Thanks very much for having me on.
So thanks from Niall there for taking the time. Just on a side note, Johnny's service crew, DJM, David Gray Motorsport, give a part to Craig to keep him in the rally halfway through the event. You know, like talk about, you know, camaraderie and rallying. Like that's fantastic. You know, the two guys battling out for the one, and they left the part out of their van, hand it over to Craig to keep him in the rally. Brilliant. You know, you can't say much fairer than that. And then in the modified section of the rally as well, Kevin Eves and Chris Melly took the one. You know, just absolutely delighted with the two guys. And they didn't have it all their own way. You know, like Conor Murphy was there fighting with them earlier on. And, you know, right throughout, you know, quality field, you know, there's no doubt about it. And they were, you know, they were kept honest, like Daniel McKenna, Desi Keenan, Junto Duggan. Great to see other names like Junto coming up there, and you know, Murphy we had mentioned in a previous podcast as well. Not names that were familiar at the top of the timesheets, but great to see, you know. So I think without further ado, we'll catch up with Kevin and Chris. But first of all, I asked Kevin what it was like to win Killarney.
Oh, definitely. Killarney Historics, I suppose that's what I was saying even a while ago. It's between it and Donegal's probably takes the top of the tier. So it's good to have one of them there anyway.
And Chris, from your point of view as well, too, nice trophy to have in the collection.
Absolutely. You know, I suppose it's the second year in a row we're taking the Paddy Kieran Cup home, and add the Joy Moynihan Rallying Cup to that as well. Now it's even more special. So yeah, it's definitely a good one to have on the mantelpiece.
That is for sure. That is for sure. And like Kevin, yourself, like since coming back after COVID and all, you know, you've been talking about improving the car and improving yourself and all. How do you feel all that's coming together?
Oh, good. Hey, like even how Ryan and the boys, I suppose they could get sick of me some of these days, but we'd be screwing and rooting, and now I could go wrong maybe more times than I'm right. But okay, we're screwing away the car. Even simple things like coming out of Killarney in May, and maybe with the gap being such a big white line road, and maybe like struggling to even see any near the likes of Rob up it, even doing stuff like getting anti-roll bars and stuff on the car and trying to get stability stuff for speed and stuff. Like even that there now, we would have had that all on the car at the weekend. Like, and I genuinely feel like we were driving probably as hard, but the times were coming good, you know. So no, just hey, it's like anything, I suppose. No matter what, hey, everything has to evolve and keep going forward.
Yeah, and like Chris, from your point of view, like you obviously have to like keep tweaking and working, you know, as well as Kevin and you know the rest of the team as well. They're like you're contributing to this partnership as well. Like, does all them things make a difference in the car for you as well?
I suppose they do, Kevin. You know, and suppose you know the navigator gets as much an opportunity to put input to the notes as the driver does, and you know when you're making them, to tend to put that input in there. Suppose you know they like a Killarney. It's not our first time down there, so it's a development of the notes we wrote in previous years. You know, apart from that last stage there, but no, like suppose things are comfortable in the car there now. I think there's trust on both sides. Well, I think there is anyway. But you know, no, it's going well at the minute there.
Yeah, and like you know, you've been more or less together now since 2013. Like that, you know, that is a strong bond. It's not many partnerships last that long. That obviously speaks volumes from both sides of the car. That you know, the trust's there.
It is, suppose, as you say, that the trust's on both sides. You know, but as you say, since 2013 it's gone on there, and it's a development since that. You know, but no, I suppose it's an equal contribution into the whole thing that's making it work there at the minute.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And like Kevin, from your point of view, going into the weekend, like there was a strong lineup. Maybe some of the favoured guys like Sir Rob Duggan or Colin O'Donoghue weren't there, but there were still plenty of guys there to trip you up. What was your expectations going into the weekend?
Oh, well, I suppose with the setup of the stages, I suppose with the gap three times and then only four other stages in my mind, I suppose we knew it was probably all going to be won and lost on the gap when the battle would come to it. So I suppose Dan, Dazzy, even like, I suppose even probably didn't think of as much, hey, but hey, who had a savage run at the weekend there, John O'Duggan, like, I think he pipped us on a stage or that too. Like he definitely had some pace. So there was, Jack and them boys all at bother, and I suppose we just knew that the gap was probably going to be the one, and I probably expected Connor to put us under pressure. I suppose on the first stage he had 1.6 or 1.8 out of us, but we just knew we were going to have to go hard from kind of where to go. And I suppose like we finished up with an all right lead, but it was still an accumulation of probably 3 and 4 seconds
Yeah,
on
there's
every
no big
stage.
major jumps in
You
any
know,
particular stage. Yeah,
so like any mistake at all was probably going to dwindle us back down the field. So no, hey, as Chris says, I suppose just between the two of us, it's kind of we're together that long now. It was kind of cool heads, kind of keep tipping away even when we kind of had our lead. Just keep doing our own thing. I suppose it's not our first rodeo, so we just chipped away at
Yeah,
it.
and like you mentioned there, like the likes of John O'Duggan and Connor Murphy, and it's always great to see new guys getting up to to the top tier as well. It has to be welcomed.
Oh, definitely. Oh, hey, it's class. Like even there this year, like I know he's about and he's had the pace, but like even like Sir Richard Moffat and that there, like it's like he's really come to the tip top there. He's definitely been quick all over the years, but like just like coming out there even in Wexford, like that first day, we could see where he was, but we couldn't really see, past him. He was like he had a 30 odd second lead on us in a day. It's class to see them new boys progressing on, and there's a couple of more boys there. Like even hey after the first run, Shreddy Doherty,
Yeah.
he was he was in between us and McKenna, I think,
Hmm.
2 or 3 down and us up the gap. Like so, it's class to see that class. It's going to be great when you go to rallies and it's been that way probably since COVID, where you were going to events and there's probably the top 10 2.5 cars, are all on pace. So it's class. That's what builds our pace, everybody's pace up too. Like all us boys, you're going back scratching your head and screwing at the car and coming at it again. So that's what it's all about.
That is for sure. And from Chris, from your point of view, the trust you two guys have in the car, like, do you just talk during the stage, or is it just head down on the notes, or do you know when he's getting a bit ragged and you need to pull him in, or when he needs to be pushed on, or whatever?
Whatever about pulling them back, it's usually too late when that has to happen. You know, no, in fairness, I think these things well judged there now. He needs to not giddy up now and again to get going about halfway through there. But nah, as you say, the trust's there, and the pace is there, and there's very little time for talking.
Yeah.
It's the pace of modified rallying because it's going up and up all the time, and it's very fast there at the moment.
Yeah, and it's all them wee things that makes the difference, like a tenth here and a tenth there. And like, you can't even afford a half spin there almost now because it's got so tight.
Absolutely, a half spin is losing the rally.
Yeah.
That's what it is when it's down to points of seconds there. It's definitely cutting every line, getting every line, and cutting every corner where you can to use left road.
Yeah. And like, it's not just a matter of rocking up on the Friday morning and start with a blank bit of paper. There's a lot of work goes in before you get there as well, isn't there?
Yeah, it's probably one of the things that we've got better at. Especially this year in particular. We're setting time out, pre-event and doing studying of previous years and trying to get that head start. As you say, it's very hard to rock up now and get a good result. If you don't put the prep work in prior to the event, you're on the back foot before you start.
Yeah. And like Kevin, do you attribute your this more consistent faster Kevin Eves to all these wee things in that's been put in place?
Oh yeah, definitely. Hey, and I'd say some of the other boys that are racing probably even cop. I'd say even like I'd say I'm fairly lucky even with Chris and down to the organisation side of it. I kind of get the piece like hey, I go to a rally, I have next to near nothing to worry about. Chris will be booking hotels and stuff, but you kind of get to focus on the car and a bit of prep before it, you know. So I suppose it works out very well for me, you know. I suppose, and even just everything, you're stress free, you're worrying about your own department and a way on, kind of having the car as happy as you can be in it. So no, you kind of just need that. I think one thing I would do, I would always try and get a spin in the car and kind of just take that edge off you. You know, a lot of damage is done on the first couple of stages at rallies. You know, on the second loop, everybody's kind of warmed up. You know, that kind of way. So I suppose trying to be as prepared as you are to get out of the blocks quick, which isn't always handy done, but that's kind of.
Oh, if you have a wee run in the car, maybe a couple of days before it, you've got that situation back again. That because like, you haven't done a rally now since like Wakesford or whatever, like, and it's, you know, it's only whatever 2 months, but it's still a long time been out of a rally car.
It just was good to get in and get a run, stand on the brakes and go for a couple of bumps and kind of just get that feeling back again. Probably takes the edge when you're going out the road to something, especially something as daunting as like whatever about some national rally, you know, with something going out and you're sitting at the bottom of Knockalla, knowing you're going 17 or 18k up a white line road, you know, it's you need to be content sitting at the start line, you know.
That's true. And like I spoke to, you know, Richard Buffett a few weeks ago about this. Like, there's nothing to beat that feeling of sitting in a 2.5, you know, Corolla Escort, you know, Starlet or whatever. It's just hard to beat that sensation.
Yeah, it's class. Like, hey, at the same time, like we have a lot of horsepower. With, you know, we have big brakes. We have all the suspension. You know, paddles. You're playing and with all the toys, like, and it's just like, hey, when you're coming up like that big wide road leading over to the gap and you're kind of drifting in fifth gear, kind of using all the road, like it's especially when say like something like Killarney there. What made it even better was the weather was so good. You know, I don't mind a year in Killarney and Historics that you just nice dry mild weather. You know, when you're fit to use all that power and kind of grip on a road like that, it's a cool feeling now.
That's for sure. And Chris, from your point of view, sitting in the passenger seat, like, you know, I know you're not like a passenger, but like, what is that sensation like going up the likes of that? You know, do you feel that going through the, you know, the seat of your pants almost as well?
You do, you know, and you know that, you know, if it's flowing and the rhythm's going well, like the adrenaline, you know, it's pumping there, and you know when you know when you're using the entire road of a white line road from one side to the outside, it's definitely a thrill and a buzz, you know.
Yeah, that's for sure. And like Kevin, you know, you talked about, you know, you finally get, you know, your first outright one and all, like that gave you great satisfaction there at the weekend. How good was that when, you know, you crossed the line to discover you'd beat everybody else and won the rally outright as well?
I know. I don't know what way you describe it. It just is class. I like you lift that trophy and you see names come back to the 2000s, and you know that's how it is. It's just class to, as I kind of was saying earlier, it just is. It's one of the top tier in modified rallying, like away to Killarney and the prestige of that event. I know, as you say, some of the other boys, the local boys there, but it's just how it is class to get your name on something like that. It's kind of something now you'd cherish now for a long time.
That is for sure. And like, you know, at the historic section of the rally too, you know, you had Craig Breen, like, you know, WRC star, you know, Johnny Greer, who has won, I think, 5-6 rallies this year. And like in cars that have probably as much, if not more power than what you have yourself. Like, so them boys weren't going to be discounted for, you know, the overall rally as well.
Aye, definitely. And I think it even just goes to show, you know, the development of the likes of the modified car. You know, when you see that stuff, like, and even, you know, I suppose granted that weekend there when it's dry like that, you know, the ability we have to use what we have and the brakes and suspension and traction and stuff. But like it is class, you know, and it just goes to show the way the thing evolves on. Even, you know, we're all historic, but a couple of modern cons take a bit of time.
That's for sure. And like, you know, I'm old enough, I'm sure you two guys probably not old enough to remember like Frank Maher's car the first time round. Chris, it was magic to see it there on Saturday.
Absolutely was, you know, and to see Craig driving it, you know, was even better. It, you know, that the flames firing at the side of it, and you know the noise out of it, and there's so many people went to Killarney for the weekend just to see that car alone. You know, it's spectacular to see it there.
And like we talked before we started recording, the crowds that was there, from Thursday onwards, like it's unreal.
Absolutely unbelievable. Like this, as we said, the amount of camper vans were there from Thursday, and when we were going up the gap on Friday morning, like they all had their places picked, and there were videos there on social media, of people standing in their selected spots at 4 o'clock on Saturday morning, and yeah, definitely the crowds was unbelievable. Like the atmosphere on Friday at the ceremonial start, it carried the whole way through, and as a credit to the organisers and the marshals and everybody that contributed to the run of that event. There was an absolutely spectacular event.
That is for sure. And Kevin, from your point of view, like does having them crowds along the side of the road and somewhere like going through the gap and that, does that give you an extra wee lift too, seeing all that as well?
Oh, it is class. Like even like you're coming up round Ladies View and that, and you're coming moving out, and it is just class to see the lines of the road and people standing on rocks and banks and stuff. But as Chris says, like you get into the back of Beamer and half a mountain, you'd be thinking you need climbing gear to get where some of the people were. It's cool to see. Like it's just I suppose it is a big buzz. It's class to see people out and about, and as Chris says, like the amount of event and the organisation and that, like you look back even last year, where, like the crowds of people there, she didn't have bother on the gap at like 5 o'clock in the morning with the traffic jam.
It
Like
is.
it's class that club can put something like that together, and it run as well, even in the evening time there, like with the short days, like we're running into the gap, just everything worked that smooth. Everybody got their last run up at high, so it was brilliant.
Aye, like to get the full 7 stages, that's some doing for a club as well, and everyone run like clockwork, every stage more or less run on time, I believe, as well.
Yeah, no, class. Just definitely brilliant event.
Excellent, excellent. Well, that is that 2022 wrapped up. Any thoughts now going into 23, or just do something similar to this year, pick and choose your events?
I'd say we'll pick and choose. Like I suppose we'll see where we come. We always, I suppose, Galway rocks up the start of the year, and me and Chris always gets away well in kind of that dirty, tricky conditions. And I kind of always enjoy the challenge of Galway, and it's the first event after the Christmas break, and it's good to get at it. And then West Cork's a brilliant event. We always seem to like to up to that, and Killarney's a brilliant event. We like to up to that, and I kind of seem to be falling more that way than we kind of this year. I suppose we dropped in a couple of national rounds in between. Then we probably didn't go north with some of the international events, and probably threw in a couple of national rounds on our way kind of to Donegal then. So kind of very much enjoyed this year. I suppose we'll just probably start off something similar and see what happens.
Yeah, I just see how the year's going. If the championship's there, maybe pursue it, and if not, you just go out and enjoy your rally. Yeah.
So this year kind of sorted itself out. Like in the first 3 rounds, we had went out of the championship, the international championship this year. So I think, hey, just basically as you say, hey, we'll start it up and see where it goes.
And like Chris, from your point of view, you have to be happy with the way the year went. I know you've had your problems at the start of the year, but in general, it's been a very good year.
It has, as you rightly said, Kevin, and it's them, suppose them unplanned years and the surprise results that, put the icing on the cake, really. The expectation of coming out with nothing, I think it's the best way to go into them. The difference was our the hurdle we always fall at seems to be Donegal. But I think we'll take a different approach to that next year again to see how we can master
it. But right
the first corner to start.
Always good sound advice.
We'll try that next year and see what happens.
But what a way to finish 2022. Champions. Fastest up the gap. All that. It's more than you could have dreamt of on Saturday morning, I would say.
Oh, definitely 100%.
Well, lads, thank you very much for taking the time. It's been an absolute pleasure, and hopefully we'll see you in the stages in 23.
Cheers, Kev.
Cheers, Kevin. Keep up the good work. Thanks.
Kevin, there was some great social media, from Killarney at the weekend. I don't know if you saw, there was some really good drone footage, following Kevin Eves over at Sally Gap, not Sally Gap, Parley Balls Gap. And as well, there was a couple of great in-car clips from Daniel McKenna as well, floating around social media. They were just fabulous.
Absolutely, absolutely. You know, the commitment and the speed of them guys, like that's something else, you know. And then, you know, talking about another guy, another internet sensation, Shane McGurr, the lad, I'm not going to start raving about how good ladders are, but it's great to see, you know, this project come to fruition, you know. And he took it over to the Grampian Rally in the UK last weekend, and to say the spectators over there loved it, an understatement. Everybody's ranting and raving about it, and not only, you know, is it fast? It sounds fast. It looks fast. It is fast, you know. And they come away seventh overall, top two-wheel drive, fantastic result. So anyway, we'll catch up with Shane and get his thoughts on it.
Yeah, as I said in the last chat, you know, this lad has been ongoing for years in my head. It's been about 30 years in my head. And then about 4 years ago, we just took the bull by the horns that this is going to have to happen. As I said before, I've done my day racing the Franks and Adrians and Crossings and all these guys. And I said, you know what, I want the fun back in the sport and, you know, not to take it as serious. And hey, I just wanted to build it. And I said, if it's competitive, that's a bonus. If it's not, what odds? We're still going rallying, it didn't really matter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then we got the push on to the Bushwhacker. In fairness, we were probably a week or 2 weeks, nearly too early going to the Bushwhacker. But we needed a date. You have to push for a date or it'll never be done.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the Bushwhacker knowing the gear was too tall in it and a few things. Listen, we didn't drive it till the Thursday night before the Bushwhacker. And, you know, with these few things come up, but it was still doable to take it for a test.
Mm-hmm.
So, and the test was beside home. So, to be fair, I'm glad we did. Would have been still faffing about working at it if we hadn't put the push on.
Yeah, it would have been next year before it would have ever been ready. Then
it would have been, and then you'd have been back, and you know, and I thought, you know what, we'll push on and we'll keep the move on, and you know, Bobby was pushing for a date too, right? We have to pick a date, we have to go for it, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
And I did. I'm glad we kept the push on.
Yeah, and like what a response that, you know, the car has got since you brought her out. It's gone viral, I suppose, nearly at this stage.
it's crazy. Like, I'm not used to this publicity. It's I don't know. They're just the phone's dinging full time, and the messages from these random boys, foreign boys, and everything, and inviting us to go foreign and everything. And it's just crazy. I don't know. I'm a bit embarrassed, to be honest, about it. You know, I built this as a personal bit of fun, just that. Everybody's just loving it. I think they're just loving to see something different, and went to scrutiny, and the scrutineers and everything was loving it. They're all looking around it. You know, and in fairness, it's a very well built car, you know, so they're just obsessed with the way it's been put together. You know,
and not only
just something different, and the engine's just driving people mad, you know.
That's what I was going to say. Not only
don't know what it is.
It sounds great as well, too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, so.
That benefit, you know, we didn't know that we took this engine on as a bit of a not knowing what was going to happen with it. It's one of Keith's engines, reverse Honda. But when people open the bonnet, they're just baffled. What even is it? And frying their brain. How anybody that knows a B18 Honda just turns the wrong directions. Like, what have you done? Have you changed the gearbox? Have you changed the diff? How is this possible even to be done? It can't be reversed. It's just crazy. But that makes it all the more fun because it's just confusing everybody to the
Yes. I think there's a wee man in Japan must be scratching his head. How the hell did this ever happen?
Actually, I was talking to Keith this morning. He says, what was it? He says, a quote from Churchill. He says, "Never before has one man revved a Honda so hard on one rally, and it never has one man revved one Honda so hard."
Yes.
And that was a lovely engine. In fairness, it's a lovely engine.
Yeah.
I'm loving the whole thing that, you know, we're using some Sonus suspension and some Sonus box, and it's just fantastic. But a kit too, you know.
Because you were worried the last time we spoke, you know, were you going to be able to get her set up the way, you know, to be comfortable? No, but it seems to have everyone just seems to have slotted and fell into place, and it looks just an easy transition from the start.
It just did, you know. Listening, we did do a wee bit of work. We spent a day testing. I know O'Connell was there about 2 weeks ago, and the best thing we ever done. I think it took out a year's faffing about at rallies, if you understand me, Kevin.
Yes.
Because sometimes when you're in rallies and then you're sucked in a race, you're afraid to move things, and you don't chance maybe moving suspension settings. You know, we faffed about the suspension and we overdone it, and then we knew we'd overcooked it, and then we were fit to go back. And, you know, really impressed with what we had. You know, Bobby's very switched on, and Denver's very switched on. on suspension, I'm useless. It all felt the same to me, but Denver was fit as saying, no, that thing's, your rebounds this, and Syracuse come back and saying, we'll up the rebound and we'll change the ball, high speed ball. Them's all double dutch to me. I don't know what all that stuff's about.
You just drive, but it's great to have other people around you that's able to, to steer you in the right direction as well. Then
mechanically, I know the car inside out, and know you started inside out. But the one thing that just baffles me is suspension. I just can't get my head around that many settings. It just fries my head. Bill Steam's just as easy.
But but all that work is paid off. We've seen the grumping at the weekend. Like anybody that hasn't seen the in car, watch the in car. The car just looks so well set up and pulls like a train.
Aye, it is now awareness. As I said before, Kevin, from we took this project on years ago. From this has been in my head so long, but there was only ever one man in my mind. If this was ever going to succeed, it was Bobby Sharkey was going to have to build it. And that was always my head. There was only ever one man in my mind was going to make this thing work if it could work. And I said, well, it's the best shot if I'm ever going to give it. If he can't get it to work, it ain't never going to work. So, fairness, we put a lot of work in. Bobby is very, very smart, very technical. And, he done things there that it's way above my expertise.
And like you're doing your Ari Vatanen impression in the in car as well too. And the sun was getting in your eyes too. So,
sun was pretty critical at times in there, but listen, plowed on, pulled on.
Yes,
but sure,
I think, as I say, anybody that hasn't already watched it, go and watch that in car. You even have a half spin, and you don't even seem to get flustered about it. You let an expletive out of you and get on with it.
I was a bit miffed that. I was just listen, I'm a dopey sort of bollocks like that. I just got confused coming around the corner and I went the wrong road. No matter what Denver was telling me, I just said, looks like where I'm supposed to go, but it wasn't. But Denver's as cool as a cucumber too. I would just get on well. He's first class navigator, put the cracks in them and the cracks good. And see if you've that all together. We're still going out for the day's funness. We like to be competitive, but Denver's the same, and Ronnie and Amy there, she couldn't be lost. You'd be lost without them all, and but they're all still there for the bit of fun.
Yeah, and like as I keep saying to
not
guys,
taken seriously.
Like Malcolm Wilson's not going to ring you on Monday morning, and
Malcolm Wilson wouldn't even know who I am.
But that Grampian rally, it seemed to be a great rally for local guys as well. Brendan Comiskey finished second overall. Vivian had the polo out as well. It's great to see guys coming from here and doing so well across the water.
Yeah, on the Friday night, Niall McCullough was leading the rally, and then he had a dry shaft failure, so it was disheartening for poor Niall because he was just on such a charge, And then Vivian, unfortunately, had an issue too. His car stopped at one stage and lost a minute, which didn't give Vivian the justice he deserved either for the run he had.
Yes.
But no, it was lovely to see the Irish guys going over. I don't know if Vivian them has ever been in there, but we've never set foot in them for us before. I enjoy going to do new events.
Yeah, it's good to see something different all the time.
I like to go to new stages, and see are we competitive. And when you're on new stages, you're committing 100% to the notes. You start to memorize stages and you think you know corners, and it's when you're going to an event like that, you're concentrating wholesale on your notes, and if the note says a 5, you're taking it as a 5. Doesn't matter what's in the way of it.
You're there, you're in the zone as such, So
yeah.
And you seen Vivian has stepped away from the escorts and all. Would it ever be something that would float your boat, maybe going and trying an R5 or something 4-wheel drive, or that day's gone?
No way, Jose. I tried it once on an Evo, and we done the bushwhacker on an Evo. I don't even know, 5 or 6 or 7 years ago. And Martin McGarty was sitting with me, and I think halfway through the first stage, I said to Martin, "This thing's coming out of here, and just for sale right away." I genuinely just don't get the buzz out of the Evo. It's not that any man is driving them bloody fast.
Yes.
But it's the noise and the buzz, and I just say, we're working too hard, and we're spending whatever money we have to do this. If I'm not getting the buzz out of it, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, you'd rather not do it than I do it. And
it's all about the buzz, forgetting about the competitiveness of it. It's about the buzz. If you don't get the buzz, I'm not going to do it. And I just the 4-wheel drive car didn't give me the buzz, and it's the sheer noise. You know, I'm just one of them people that I have to seem to wring the neck out of every engine that get into it. I can't do that in an Evo. It doesn't go to me.
Just doesn't rev the same.
No.
And like, you know, you give yourself this nickname of Steady Eddie, but like, you know, I think that ship has sailed also. Like, you know, the slides that you were doing at the weekend, every video, so, you know, if you follow the right, great to see it. Like, it seems to be, as you said earlier, the enjoyment's back in rallying again for you.
The enjoyment is, you know, and this enjoyment's always been there, or I wouldn't be doing it, you know, but it got a bit monotonous there, and, you know, you were doing the same similar events, and then COVID come in and messed things up too, and, you know, now in fairness, the ladder seems to be more sideways than my natural style of driving with the Starlet, but then the Starlet was also a car that you don't drive sideways in the forest. You know, it's like a go-kart at a very fine braking point in the Starlet in the woods. When you go past that, you're gone. You know, with this car here, he seems to get a big full hang on it, and it comes back around. It seems to be all under control, but someday it'll bite us in the bum. We'll probably get caught and rail up the ball up the road.
But until then, they're going to keep enjoying it.
And yeah, till then we'll try and keep it sideways.
Yes, and you were saying about, you know, getting these invites from across the, you know, Europe and one thing or another. Would you be tempted to do a Frank Kelly and take her abroad?
Well, yes, I would, to be fair. Now, not to the extent of Frank. It's like a completely different level. Like, we have done a few. We've been in Lithuania twice with the Starlet and stuff, and I haven't ruled out going back there. It's just one of them things. First year we went out with engine failure, and the second year we went out with a driver failure. So I haven't, you know, that's one of them things. It's still in the back of my head where it's not settled. We're not finished out there.
It's an itch to scratch.
Yeah, and then there was a fella, funny enough, sending messages about there's a lot of challenge out in Lithuania, so he's looking to see would we go out to that. And you know, Samson has helped us massively the last couple of times to go out to Reykjanes, you know, to do his rally. So I haven't ruled out maybe doing something like that yet. Also,
yes,
you know, I always had that in the back of my head too, that, you know, build something like this and do a few different events. You know, I'm not getting any younger, and me, you know, that's why I want to just go and do these things. I've probably only another lot of years left, really.
And like, you know, I think it was yourself put up the photo today of the car, but you can only see a bit of the car, and the people stand behind and the smiles in their faces. It's great to see something that is bringing, you know, we had almost 2 years of people nearly not allowed into the forests and one thing and another.
Yeah,
it's great to see the crowds back and people enjoying themselves again as well.
Well, that's, you know what I mean. I get a buzz out of seeing people happy, and you know, just that's why. Listen, the easy route, Kevin, was to build an escort.
Yeah.
Without a question of a doubt. And many's a day I thought, what am I doing here? Like, Genie Macaron would have been just so much easier to build an escort or another Starlet or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
But no, I wanted to stick with this, and it went on for years with this Starlet. Me and Bobby talked about this on and off for years. You know, Bobby said, it's doable, it's doable. And I had a wee road car, and I brought it up to him one time, and I said, well, take it up with this and measure it. And he was sort of half-arsed looking at it, and he said, sure, everything's doable, everything's doable. Next thing I rocked up one day with a shell in the back of the tiller. He says, what's the story? And I says, we're just going to build this. Like. He says, I actually thought, he says, you were going to give up on this. He says, this has been talked about for 10 years. He says, I genuinely thought that you were just going to give up.
This is a pipe dream.
Probably this is not forgetting about. So then that's when he realised, holy mother of God, I've got myself involved in something that I shouldn't have probably agreed to. But he was stuck with me then.
Yeah, and like I would say, Bobby is delighted the way the car is going for you too. Like that's, you know, that's a light shining on him and what he can do as well.
Yeah, you know, Bobby's loving her too. To be fair, you know, as you know, many's a day where, you know, that freaking Russian yoke, and there's not two panels are the same, and nothing measures up the same. But and saying that, he still always was getting a buzz out of it, because you know, as he said, you build one escort, and they just compare it to the next one. You know, he says, if I build a brand new escort in the morning, they say, why did Barry then put the cable tie there, and why did Barry then do this, and why did, you know, Camillus Bradley do this, and why did Mark Smith do that? He says, they're just comparing. He says, nobody can compare this.
No, this is a one-off.
Yeah.
And like, you know, it's probably, like, I know back in probably the 90s now, like Russia bought an awful lot of the shells back again. Is it very difficult to get parts for them now as well?
Shells is getting to be more valuable, to be fair. You know, listen, as I said before, that was the next challenge car. I might have had 15 years and I give £800 for that thing when it's that long ago, I can't even remember now how long it is. It's sitting here that long. But now the shells have gone up in value. But I'm saying that still, if you were to start in the morning, even at $3,500 for a shell, sure, you're given 10 for an escort. You know, but I'm saying that there's probably more work in your ladder than there is ever in an escort.
But there'll not be as big a smile in your face at the end of it.
I still him rallying an £800 car, and that's all's my mate.
Well, Shane, thank you very much. It's been an absolute pleasure, and best of big slides in the new year.
No bother. We'll talk to you again, Kevin.
So long live the ladder, as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, so also, like myself and Shane mentioned it there, you know, great to see all our local guys doing so well over in the Grumpy, and you know, Niall McCullough leading the rally after this stage in the Friday night. Brendan Comiskey and Martin Conley taking the fine second in the polo, and then Vivian Hamill on his first time out in the polo as well. Himself and Lorcan Moore, they had a small technical issue that delayed them, but I still think they finished in the top 5 as well too. So like, you know, we keep saying the depth of talent here, you know, which is great to see, you know, and also good to see Vivian making the swap into a polo too. So watch this space, you know. Connor, this weekend we have Young Coleman out in Italy, I think it is, isn't it?
That's right. KCJ is competing in a Rally 4208 in Moderno in Italy. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on, and we're hoping to catch up with himself, you know, in a week or two's time as well, just to talk about. This is his second time out in Italy, and he had a really good run the last time out as well. So be interesting to see now how it fares out for him.
Excellent. And then before we go, exciting announcement, possibly. I don't know why you're so find it as exciting as we are. We're hoping to run a quads. So if you can, please, if there's any questions you'd like answered, you know, we're going to have a panel, maybe 4 or 5 guys on. If you want to fire in a few questions, if you can email them or direct message either myself or there's a Krunching Gears Facebook page, and there's also on Twitter. So you can either direct message any of the 3 of those, or even on Instagram too. I'm on Instagram, or my email is kgrally13@yahoo.com. You know, fire in your questions. You know, you could be one of those lucky ones that will ask your question and try and flummox our panel of guests. So that was episode 41. Please remember, like, share, comment, rate. All those things makes a huge difference. So until the next time, take care, speak soon, and bye.